Alright, I think we should be good again, hopefully. Unfortunately, I think I missed my opportunity to get in. Just gotta push it. Just gotta push it out of the rock. Come on. Nope. No, I want that one. I want that one. No, give me the seat. Give me the seat. Fuck. Oh, I don't want to exit. I need to get in it. Ah! Okay. Power.
Tolerant land systems. System check.
I don't think it's working. Oh, come on, we're almost out of the rock. No, keep going. I'll take even that much. That's progress, because then I might be able to boop it with the ship. Brake? Brake? Does brake work? Oh, that just accelerates the turn. Holy crap.
Tolerant land systems.
Come on.
Check.
They stop spinning. No, it's sucking me back in. Alright. Hey, Firefly, how's it going, man? Alright, we're gonna boop it. We're gonna boop the snoot. God damn, how far away was I? Yeah, for sure, Casey. Whatever's going on between that cyclone and the fucking rock is definitely not appropriate for YouTube's terms of service. Honestly, at this point, I kind of hope that when I try to do this, they just both explode and end my misery. Alright. Incoming cyclone.
Enjoy the ride. System check.
What could go wrong?
Collision alert. Front.
Hey fanboys, how's it going, man? We're just trying to rescue the cyclone
Collision alert. Front.
from a terrible, terrible decision. This is how you have cyclone babies, and cyclone's too young for this.
Collision alert. Low. Collision alert. Front. Collision alert. Halt.
Roll. Keep rolling. Keep rolling.
Low.
Now stop. Hammer time.
Collision alert. Front. Collision alert. Low. Collision
We're
alert.
still
Stop.
down, right? Yeah. Oh, that's a big rock. Alright, that'll do.
Shields.
It's still pretty kind of hit or miss, honestly. It's definitely 1,000 times better than, what do you call it, yesterday's build was. But it's still not what I would consider stable. Like, they're still pretty common 30Ks. I need to rebind flashlight really quick. 1 second. Flashlight, 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 where are you at? Fuck, where are you, flashlight? That's weird. Alright, let's switch this to real quick. What's that? Alright, there we go. We have a flashlight again. Yeah, I know the default bind is T. It wasn't working with the other helmet for some reason. Please tell me you're not in a rock still. God damn it. Mantle. 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 This is like trying to do cheap, cheesy tames in Ark all over again with rock perching. Freedom! Sweet, delicious freedom. Haha! Suck a dick, rock. And it'll probably be about 4 minutes until I manage to get this thing stuck again. Only this time it'll be too far to run to the constellation. Let's go around that. No! Oof. Scary. I don't personally like the mining in Star Citizen. I think a big part of that is because I've played mining in Elite Dangerous, which is just way more fun and impressive. The other issue I have with mining in Star Citizen is it feels like lonely boring, you know what I mean? Like, that's one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to the mole. Is that way I can mine with like friends and do more than just sitting in the middle of nowhere fucking scrolling my mouse wheel up and down. I'm hoping that like just right through the rocks, no big deal. If I'd known that. No, that's... Alright. Oof. Every time it goes through the rock, it makes me super nervous. I'm waiting for it to, like, actually have collision, and suddenly I just explode. Ah. But yeah, like, that's one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to the mole, is to, like, be able to do that kind of stuff with friends and not just by yourself. Oh, that one was real. Because I think, like, that's a big one, right? Like, I can enjoy doing monotonous dumb shit when I'm doing it as kind of like with friends, as a kind of whatever, we don't really care about it type deal. But when I'm in a prospector, it's boring for me. Especially compared to Elite Dangerous's mining. Like, doing deep core mining in Elite is, like, one, kind of fun, two, visually super impressive, and three, feels way more rewarding. Yep, that one was real. God damn it. I was lulled into a false sense of security by all the other rocks I was able to drive through. Okay, these are drive-through rocks again? Nope. Nope. They are not. Not all of them. Can you imagine, like, how cancerous it would be to drive around on this planet if all of these rocks did have collision? You would literally just be bouncing non-stop. Like that. God damn it. Little baby rock. Alright, we're gonna go back to the Connie, head up out of Atmo really quick, and then go for new Babbage, since I haven't had a chance to, like, really mess around with new Babbage yet. Aside from, like, the one time I half asleep drove to it and then touched a wall and died, evidently. I see you, Connie lights. I'm coming. Like a lighthouse. At least you could easily flip the Mako. That was a big fat win in my book, is the ability to flip it over. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do. WMD is kind of cruise around the city a little bit. Hopefully during the daylight hours. I finally found the fucking open cargo bay. He's learning. Back up. Yeah, I would say that's kind of like one of the big downfalls of having like these procedurally generated plans. It's like the density of the procedural foliage and other crap is just really ridiculous. That loaded. Think bueno. Yeah, that's good.
Weapons system is off.
I don't know. I'm not sure on that one. Just because, like, on any other planet, usually you hit those little rocks and you still ricochet like crazy. Oh no. What? Why? How? Don't do it. Don't do it, Cyclone. Oh shit. Yeah. Somebody get the tow rope. Fuck, 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 fuck. Go back down. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. No, 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 no. I can't. I can't deal with this right now. Why? It shouldn't have been hitting anything. Why did it do that? God damn it, man. I'm over it. I'm over it. If it falls out, it falls out. Wrong way. We'll deal with it when we get to New Babbage. Honestly, Casey, like, they need that. They really do. They need a button that's like X to flip it or whatever, honestly. I don't care if it ruins people's immersion. Like, these things flip so fucking often that, like, it just needs to be a thing. Are we dropping it? Doesn't look like it. Alright. Oh, it's pulling up. At least that's going right. Damn it, did I get in with my fucking flashlight on? Yes, I did. Fuck.
We're not just this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money.
Boomtaka, how's it going, man? Thank you so much for the $5 donation. I love your videos. What's your opinion on how loanerships are done? I think, like, for the most part, a lot of them make sense. However, I think CIG gets lazy on, like, not backtracking and fixing ships that have more appropriate loaners, if that makes sense. And that's kind of, like, a little bit infuriating, especially when you're sitting there, like, waiting years and years for whatever ship it is that you own, and your loaner's kind of, like, dumb. Like, if you had a Carrack, I'd be kind of bummed about having a kill at this point. Stuff like that is kind of weird. Man, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I definitely think that there are some situations where the loaners are good, though. Like, for guys who own the Taurus and they get an Andromeda for fucking years now. Those guys are making out like a bandit because they're literally saving, like, what, 75, something like that. So like every now and then the loaner matrix kind of actually like works out to the advantage of the backers, but for the most part, yeah, I think definitely there's some stuff that could get improved. God damn it. 1 sec. I just want to make sure really quick that the mole isn't going up for sale yet. I don't know why I'm checking, but just in case. I'm sure they're going to do it like the Mantis where they fucking cock tease the shit out of it on the PTU. For like ever. And then finally sell it later on. Gotta build the hype first. Build the hype. Build the hype. It reminds me of like, what do you call it? God, what was that movie called? The Goods or whatever? Oh, what? Hold on. I need to Google. The Goods. Live hard, sell hard. That is, that's what CIG reminds me of sometimes. I don't know if I can do this because I don't really care about getting this. Oh my god, why? I fucking hate trying to slide this thing over from one monitor to the other. It fucks me over every fucking time. Alright. Pop that. What's a little demonetization, right? Worth it. Boop. This shit right here is so...
Feel exactly like I did before I landed on Iwo Jima. I swear to God, there's no difference at all.
This is CIG getting ready for a
Teddy.
concept sale.
Pain is weakness leaving the body. Sell these bastard cars. Sell the metal. Sell the metal. Sell the metal. Sell the metal. Sell the metal.
Sell the concept! Sell the ship!
That's literally how I see CIG every time they do a new concept sale. It's like, just how can we hype this shit? How can we make this so absurd that the backers have to fucking buy it? What do we do? What's the go-to here?
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money.
Oh, hey, bearded guy. No problem, man. I'm glad that, like, you know, that's the one nice thing about some of those subscriber rewards is, like, if you're not going to use them, you can gift them to people. Because, like, I just end up with so many of those, what do you call it, armor sets, and they just sit there, and it ends up almost being clutter. So I'm like, fuck, man, does anybody want these? Because, I mean, some people don't start out with, you know, extra armor sets, so I'm glad you were able to use it, man. All right, let's see if I can slide this back over without ruining it all over again. We did it! All right. All right, I need to turn off this fucking flashlight. It's bad enough looking at the Constellation's cockpit windows. Doing it with a flashlight on is definitely worse. Yeah, for me, that was a no-brainer one, Boomtaka. or sorry, Boomkata. As soon as I saw that subscriber helm, I was like, oh yep, we're gonna subscribe for this month. That helmet's definitely worth it, just for like how obscene it is. Like it, the fact that so many backers get bothered by it just makes it. It's like the cherry on top, you know. All right, new Babbage, where you at? Is it under me? It is. All right. Easy, Connie. Easy. There you go, girl. Oh yeah, like, you know what, like, that's one of the biggest things that I feel like I'm almost like, I feel like a broken record sometimes when I bring this up, but if there's one thing that CIG is just insanely competent at, it's their marketing team. Their marketing team is so good at using stuff like fear of missing out, false scarcity, just all these things that generally will be seen kind of predatory. They're masters at mixing them all into one giant sale. And it's really, I mean, I don't know whether to be like outraged or to applaud it.
Drive is now off.
Yeah, exactly, Firefly. Like their sales models are really kind of shitty. Like to the point that like I feel like if you criticize Electronic Arts, there's no fucking humanly possible reason that you aren't doing the same thing to Star Citizen and Cloud Imperium, right? Like that's the biggest thing. Like if you're fine with EA and how they operate, then I'm willing to say, hey, you know what, if you're cool with that, then you're cool with it regardless of who's doing it, right? But that's one of the things that really bothers me about Star Citizen and certain parts of the backer community is that like they're so against microtransactions, they're so against loot boxes, predatory sales practices, and all this other stuff. As long as it's done by companies like Bethesda, Activision, Electronic Arts, and whatnot. But then when you look at Star Citizen and CIG, they're like, no, it's fine. We're funding the game. We're funding the game. And it's like, I think one of the biggest things that bothers me in pretty much anything, not even Star Citizen related, is hypocrisy, right? Like, don't be hypocritical about it. And it's one of the reasons that, like, I was fine with Star Citizen being pay to win, right? Because I was fine with it in other games. I'm fine with it in Star Citizen. And I'm willing to own that, like, hey, this game I'm backing is pay to win. No big deal. I'm not bothered by it because I'm not bothered by pay to win as long as it's at least slightly structured to be fair to people who don't have the money. But then other people who are fanatically invested into Star Citizen through finances or emotional or whatever the case may be, right? They'll dog the shit out of like pay to win, and they'll be like, oh, well, how do you define win? And oh, well, Star Citizen isn't actually pay to win. And it's like, dude, come the fuck on. Like, if this was any other game, you would be singing a completely different tune right now. That's stupid. You're being stupid. Holy shit, Liechtenstein. Fuck. That's crazy. He needed to have that javelin, you know? You don't understand. You don't understand hangar development, alright? That's crazy. I mean, I can't even imagine spending that much throughout like the whole course of the development, much less buying it all in one pack. But then going out and grabbing a little $4,000 loan from your parents to buy it, that's special. No, for sure, Bearded. Like, and that's the thing too. Like, I don't care how much people have put into the game. Obviously, I'd be, again, pretty hypocritical to shit on people for spending a lot of money if they can afford to do it after I've spent a lot of money on it as well. My thing is, like, even when I was in my peak whale, right, and had like the 10 grand into this game, I was very aware that it was pay to win, and I was totally fine with that, right? I was like, okay, I'm buying this Idris because I want an Idris. I want to have that advantage. I want to have a large fleet capital to play with friends. Blah, 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 you know? But then, you know, you have like other people who are like, oh no, I'm not buying an advantage. It's so I can, you know, skip time. And it's like, okay, but that's still an advantage, to say nothing of the fact that like it having an Idris versus not having one is obviously an advantage. Like, come on, dude, let's be real. It's just frustrating. Like, just own it. I don't understand why that's so hard for the Star Citizen community to do. Just own it. Be okay with it, and then it makes it a whole lot harder for people to fucking talk shit about it if you just own that it's pay to win, that you give these advantages out to people who are willing to spend the money. I mean, I don't think like it's fair to be like, oh man, even if I was a billionaire, I wouldn't spend 27K on a game, because like, for one, if you're a billionaire, like 27K means nothing. That's like throwing a penny at a fucking video game. But then the other thing you have to think about is like, I think there's two groups of whales, right? I fall under the first group. We're people that can comfortably afford to throw 500 to 1,000 at this game a month, right? And it's not going to bankrupt us, right? Like, it's hobby money that we would spend on other dumb shit, right? Whether it be drinking or going out, whatever the case may be. Like, it's your hobby money. And over the years, because Star Citizen has been in development for so long, you start to look like a whale because you have so much money into this game over the course of basically, let's call it optimistically, 7 years, right? So, like, that's how I ended up being a whale in Star Citizen. I'd throw 500 here or there, if there was a concept that I liked. And back in the day, you could bankroll credit because credits weren't devalued back in the day, so it wasn't a big deal. You'd buy a concept ship, maybe you'd buy an extra constellation or something like that, and then when there was a new sale coming that had either a really good pack or a new concept that was high dollar, you just melt the extra shit and then buy the new thing, and it was good to go. And then the other group of whales are the people who are actually very, very well off. Like, I'm not rich by any means, but I'm comfortable for sure. There are people who are well off, right? And they can afford to do that shit. They can be like, oh yeah, 27K, fuck it, I like this game, I want it to succeed, whatever the case may be. Boop, here you go. So I don't think it's fair to criticize either group, because either group has equivalents outside of gaming. You have people who spend tons of money to go hunting, you have tons of money to go fishing, tons of money to go to sporting events, tons of money to go out drinking every weekend, tons of money to go do whatever the case may be, right? So that's one of the things that like really bothers me, because it's not even Star Citizen exclusive, right? Like, I don't think it's that weird for gamers to spend hundreds to thousands of dollars on something that they literally, like, that's their hobby, that's what they get enjoyment out of. And it's like one of the few stigmas remaining about being a gamer, because like back in the day, like when I was in high school, being a gamer wasn't fucking cool. Like, you were a fucking nerd and people made fun of you for being a gamer. So like, it's cool that gaming has become mainstream to me, but it still bothers me that so many people look at spending money on gaming as like, why would you do that? That doesn't make sense. And it's like, because like, this is my hobby, this is what I enjoy doing. So like, I don't ever shame anybody regardless of how much they put into Star Citizen, because if it wasn't Star Citizen, it probably would have been a different game. And I don't feel like people should be shamed for putting money into gaming in general. Obviously, like, I wouldn't encourage anybody to put money, that much money especially, into Star Citizen right now, because I'm still very uneasy about the future of Star Citizen. But I'm definitely not going to shame them, because I've been there and done it. Yeah, I've definitely spent, I've had months where I've spent more on alcohol than I have on ship sales, so I won't talk too much shit. Oh, I'm sure Star Citizen will be studied for a long time, just based off of its marketing success alone. Like, I don't know if it's entirely just the genre of like the whole space sim, space fucking, I don't even know what to call it. It doesn't feel right calling Star Citizen a space sim, but Second Life in space. Like, there were so many perfect storms kind of like aligning together and just creating a mega perfect storm for Star Citizen success, right? Like, the space sim genre had been dead for a long time. MMOs were kind of like nothing was really like standing out from World of Warcraft. Like, MMOs came and went, nothing really took its place. So people wanted something new, but at the same time, like, nothing managed to really keep people from WoW, right? Like, they'd try new MMOs and they'd leave and whatever.
Is at 75%.
Then you combine it with like the marketing tactics they used, the exclusivity, making people feel like they were in a special club by getting concierge. Like, there were just so many different things that CIG did on top of like already Star Citizen filling like a void that, you know, a lot of people have been waiting a long time for a proper space game, right? Like, the last like major mainstream ones were back in like Freelancer or earlier. It just, there were so many things that came together to make Star Citizen work. But even then, like, the way CIG handled it, I'm sure that like it will be studied for many, many, many years. Am I in? Actually, I don't even think VTOL mode matters on this thing right now. I saw that same headline, Casey. I don't remember reading on it, but that's fucking crazy. I can't imagine spending 1.5 million on a character and then like not having better control of it to where like a random friend could jack the account and sell it for $500. I would straight kill the fuck out of that friend though. Hopefully underneath this tramway. We'll see if we can shake that fucking cyclone loose. I'm not optimistic for our ground vehicle at this point, but we'll try. Let's see if it's... Alright, we're not getting spammed for restricted, so hopefully we can legally land here. Should be flat enough too. I don't know about that, Amir. I feel like it's one of the... I was shocked that the Forbes article was like as in depth as it was, because usually it's really hard for any news outlet to cover Star Citizen accurately because there's just so much shit to get through. That like I was honestly amazed at the Forbes article, and it kind of makes sense because the guy was like, hey, you know, I literally spent like, oh, keep going, nice. He was like, I spent like 4 months or something like that working on this story, and it showed with Forbes, but almost any other article or outlet rather that covers Star Citizen, like, you can really tell they basically like they look over the official website and then ask Chris some questions, and that's pretty much it, right? Like, that's their in-depth coverage of Star Citizen. So I mean, when they were all like, oh yeah, BBC click investigate Star Citizen, like from the get-go, I was like, I don't think this is really gonna matter. And I mean, I still haven't watched it, but from my understanding, it was basically just Chris talking about Star Citizen, and that was pretty much it. Where are you gonna land, bud? We're gonna be neighbors? It's like RV camping at New Babbage while everybody waits for the actual, like, city to open up. And in the meantime, it's just people coming out to New Babbage to land and be like, aha! Soon! Gameplay soon! Alright, let's fix the targeting on the ground vehicle really quick, because that's gonna bug the shit out of me. Ground vehicle gunner. Nope. Movement. And lights. Oh, I know what I usually read on that too. Flashlight and headlights. Alright. Headlights is 5. And the flashlight can stay 2. This weather effects on your visor is gonna get really annoying really fucking fast. Yeah, like, oh god, this server's lasted quite a while. I mean, so we had to restart it when the cyclone got fucked up, and then I messed up the OBS, and that was 43 minutes ago. And prior to that, God, I'd say we were at least on there for at least an hour, right? So I mean, it's definitely way better than yesterday's build for sure. The problem is, like, it's still 30K'ing unpredictably, which makes a lot of activities kind of sketchy to do, if that makes sense. So that's kind of a major concern. Like, there are a lot of good things coming in 3.8 for sure, but I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, this is totally worth jumping on if, like, it's not at least stable enough to where, like, people can play it. Am I not getting out? I don't understand. Oh, I got out inside of it. But that's interesting. Why not? Why not? Why not? Crouch out of it? Prone? No, I just live inside of this fucking cyclone. Oh, no, shit. Give me that prompt again. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, gotcha. Fuck you, game. Alright. Let's go. Oh, there's a switch.
We're not just doing this for
It's so
money.
frustrating that, like, some of these are like
Doing it for a shitload of money.
you click the actual door, and then other ones you got to look around to find like a specific switch terminal thing on them. It's really frustrating. Jan, thank you so much for the donation. Keep shitting all over CIG and the Fnatic backers. They deserve every bit of it, and this makes them move faster. I agree, right? Like, I think that's a big thing, is the criticism does help motivate them to do better. And that's the thing. Like, the fanatical backers don't want any criticism at all, and that doesn't help the project. And it's weird to me that, like, so many of the more fanatical backers don't understand that, like, criticism helps the project improve. It helps CIG do better by pointing out where they did bad, where they needed to do better. And it's so bizarre to me that, like, they want to shelter CIG and the game from all criticism. And it's like, how do you not understand that that's not healthy? That that's bad for any game, regardless, much less this particular one that is drastically lagging behind in terms of, like, timeline and progress. It's weird. It's really frustrating. In terms of, like, griefing and ganking, I mean, for one, it's an armistice zone here. They could be, they could come all the way out here to ram people, but it's definitely, I don't think it's something you'll see until, like, later on. Usually wave 1 PTU is not that bad, because it's mostly, like, not to say that there aren't whales who are griefers, there absolutely are, but it's more the people who actually care about, like, oh, I'm here to test stuff and report issues and things like that, because, like, most griefers aren't going to put up with getting 30Ks over and over again and stuff like that. So usually wave 1 is kind of toned down in terms of, like, griefing and general fuckery. I can see that, Boomkata. Like, it definitely, it feels like a lot of backers take criticism towards the project as, like, attacks on the project. Like, you can't, like, as an example, I think it probably was about a year ago by now, but I came out with some video after Chris had another Newsweek article, I think it was Newsweek, where he was talking about how he would fix Anthem, and it was basically him talking about Star Citizen, and he never offered a single suggestion on how to fix Anthem. And I kind of, like, in a little bit snark, decided to do a video about how I would fix, like, some minor quality of life issues in Star Citizen. And, like, they were legit things that, like, should be basic fixes that would drastically improve, like, just your everyday logging into Star Citizen experience. And so many fanboys took that as, like, an attack on Star Citizen. And I was legitimately, like, pointing out, like, really basic things that would, improve the game and make it less fucking miserable to play. And they just were up in fucking arms about it. And I'm like, I'm not even criticizing shit. Like, this isn't even me, like, being like, oh man, this buggy fucking game. It's me being like, oh, it would really improve the experience if when I walked by a ladder, I didn't automatically snap to it, and instead you changed it to interacting. How is that attacking the fucking project? But they, because I'm a known critic, because I'm offering suggestions to improve the game, it's like you're literally trying to murder Chris Roberts' baby or some shit. It's so weird. Oh, for sure, Con Scott. Yeah, absolutely. Like, let's say, I don't know, let's say 2 years from now or something like that, Star Citizen implodes, right? Like, funding runs out or something happens, whatever the case may be, and Star Citizen doesn't ever get finished. The people who criticize the game, and even though they were like, I've seen plenty of people criticize the game on legitimate grounds, right? Like, not shitting on the game, not trying to be, haters or any of that dumb shit, right? Like, they're voicing criticism about mechanics they don't like or whatever the case may be, and they get literally personally attacked until they leave the game altogether, right? Like, they don't go to Spectrum, they stop going to Reddit, and eventually they just stop logging into Star Citizen in general because they feel jaded over the community because they're, you know, just nonstop barraged by bullshit. Those are absolutely going to be the people who get, you know, blamed for why the project failed because they spreaded hate and false rumors and misinformation and whatever other bullshit excuses the fanatical backers come up with. I mean, I think, like, in general, there are a lot of, like, good things to do, or to come from Star Citizen, right? Like, the artwork is amazing. Even some of the, like, the planetary stuff. Microtech is a great example. Like, the planet's beautiful. Ship designs, like, the design work, outside of, like, the artwork and concept stuff, but just the designs that they come up with are really fucking good. Pedro Camacho, hopefully after this, will move on to something where he literally gets paid his worth, because that guy is just so fucking good with soundtracks. Like, I can't even praise that guy enough. The work he's done on Star Citizen's music is phenomenal. I think there are things that will move it the industry in a better direction. I'm a little bit concerned about how it moves marketing in the industry, because that's definitely very concerning. Yeah, I should be able to take it off, Jim. Let's see. What's the worst that could happen, right? Unequippy. I wonder if it's still, like, blurred out when you don't have a visor on. Because, I mean, technically, like, it's not on a visor anymore, right? Yeah, okay. This is livable. This is way better than having a visor on. Hey, Rebel, how's it going, man? It's working much better. It's not working properly, but it's working much better. Yeah, I agree, Caustic. It should absolutely have a full enclosure roof, right? Like, there's no reason not to. The only one that I could see justified is not... No, even then, right? Like, if it's the turreted version, it would still be mounted from the back, walking into a turret ring. So, yeah, it should still have a... It should still have a canopy over the driver's seat. There's no reason for it to be open, honestly. Alright, let's go explore. Let's cut this. Oh, I don't have a helmet on anymore. It's not going to tell me what they are at range. Oh, I'm sure I would be freezing to death if weather effects were actually in. So that's a thing, right? For anybody who's not aware. Visually, you see weather in the game right now, but the actual effects of weather are not in yet. So, like, there's no, like, freezing in a snowstorm or anything like that yet. So, if that kind of weather stuff was in game, I'm sure with the Cyclone being an open, it's not a cockpit, fuck, I can't even think of it, cabin, an open cabin, I'm sure I would be freezing. Excuse me, especially with the helmet off, it would be pretty rough. There's absolutely going to be a use for the Grey Cat, pure heroine, driving around the corridors of your capital ship. Outside of that, I don't know if there's ever going to be an actual practical use for the Grey Cat. I mean, originally they put it in because the old school hangars were so huge. Like your private offline hangars were so big that like the gray cat was almost like mandatory to get around them. But now, like, I honestly, outside of screwing around, which is basically what the gray cat's been used for a few years now, I don't know what practical use the gray cat would ever have. So like legitimately I could see driving around maybe like Idris or Kraken or Javelin, especially corridors, if they leave them open to do that. But outside of that, I can't imagine what you would ever use a gray cat for. Yeah, I can see that if they ever get to a point of actually implementing player built outposts, I could see you like using the gray cat for driving around on that, right? Like you just park it next to like, I don't know, your hab or admin building or whatever it ends up being, right? And you could use it to drive around and check in on other things around the outpost. Blap. That's what happens when you
We're
look
not
over.
just doing this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money.
That's okay, Bearded. I don't mind. Thank you for the donation, though. I don't mind if somebody sees me. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna be that childish to grief me right now, and I'm pretty sure we're still in an armistice. Yeah. Okay, so we're still in armistice zone. So even if somebody wanted to suicide into me, honestly, I would probably just laugh. Like that would be so funny that I wouldn't even be mad if somebody kamikaze the cyclone. But yeah, that's a good call. Like if I was driving around on a planet outside of the armistice zone, I would definitely not have the lights on. Yeah, we'll tuck under this lip here for a minute and wait for daylight. Power down. All right. I really want to see it during the day, so we'll go ahead and wait for that to come around. That's the one good thing about PTU is so I have a pretty wide selection of people on my friends list for like the PU, and some of them would absolutely join a server to kill me on purpose just for the sake of doing it. But on PTU, it wipes your friends list every time. So like right now I don't have anybody on a friends list, so they can't server join me. So I'm safe. I think it's slightly different catalytic, but it doesn't feel very noticeable. Like it doesn't feel like ice. It feels like a little bit slidey, and that's pretty much it. While we're here, let's see. Illegal monitors, claim jumpers, security post. Oh, yeah, fuck that. I don't know which one that is. Alright, remind me to check in on the 890 jump mission every now and then. Daymore, Aberdeen, and Kirsten. Let's do this too so it fucking clears it. accept that though. Alright. Okay, I got it. I don't need that many pop-ups. Alright, let's wait for daylight. And unless the 890 jump mission pops, we can chill here for a while. You're a terrible person, Casey, but you would fit right in at at CIG's marketing team. Yeah, if you haven't played since 3.0, fanboys, for sure. Even 3.7 is drastically fucking better than 3.0. Like, fucking light years better than 3.0. I've been getting the 890 mission from the Moby Glass, just being near Microtech. Of the 2 times I've accepted it. I would say Wave 2. By Wave 2, I mean open PTU is probably going to be Friday, maybe Thursday. I doubt it'll be today. And then I have a feeling they'll just leave it 3.8 on the PTU servers. Excuse me. They'll probably leave it on the PTU servers over the holiday break. That would be my guess. That's kind of where I see it coming. What's the difference between Star Citizen versus Elite Dangerous when it comes to outfighting? How do you mean? I would totally buy the Space Golf and Space Fishing expansions for Star Citizen. That would be great. Either of those would be an enjoyable side pastime. At least then, you know, you're doing something with all the vast empty landscape. Outfitting, okay. The biggest difference with Elite Dangerous to Star Citizen in terms of outfitting is that, like, I'm gonna assume you're familiar with one in the game or the other, right? So I'm gonna assume you kind of have an idea of Elite Dangerous if you're not super familiar with Star Citizen. It might be the opposite way around, but I'll try to explain it in a way that, like, makes sense regardless. So in Elite Dangerous, you have a ship, right? Like, let's say you have the Sidewinder, the starting fighter, and you compare that to the Aurora, right? Your Sidewinder can be outfitted to do basically any job you want, right? Let's say you want to do mining with the Sidewinder, so you buy it's got to be a size 1 or whatever it's called. Oh, fuck. How do they work in Elite? I'm trying to think of the size things. A small or whatever. So you buy a small miner or a size 1 mining laser or whatever, and you get some cargo racks, stick it inside of your Sidewinder, and now you have a Sidewinder that's equipped for mining. In Star Citizen, you take your Aurora, and your Aurora is not able to do anything except for be a really crappy dogfighting ship. Someday in the future, maybe, the Aurora is supposed to get a box that you can slap up into it. Class 1, that's it, thank you. You're supposed to be able to put like a cargo box inside of the Aurora so it can maybe carry some cargo around, right? But it's essentially always going to be locked as just a early starter ship, and it's not going to have any flexibility. You can't expand it or make it do anything differently compared to Elite, where a ship's hull is basically a starting point, and you can branch out in many different directions on how you want to actually use that Sidewinder. And that's an example that carries out across all of Star Citizen. ships are all very much locked into a certain role and a certain type of gameplay. And it's unfortunate because way back in the day, it wasn't supposed to be like that. But then as time went on in Star Citizen, it shifted more and more into pigeonholing ships into a certain role and function. And it's super unfortunate because like that flexibility in Elite Dangerous is one of the things that makes it stand out so much to me, is that you can take whatever ship. Like if you like the Python, you can turn the Python into a mining Python, or you can turn it into a bounty hunting Python, or an explorer Python, or a cargo hauling Python, or even a passenger transport Python, right? Like you take one ship and you can do so much with it. Whereas in Star Citizen, it's not like that. It's you are buying a very specific role focused ship, no matter what you buy. Even like multi-role ships in Star Citizen aren't really multi-role. Like that basically means in Star Citizen you can maybe carry some cargo and you can maybe do combat, but you're probably not going to do either one of them very well, right? And it's a huge tragedy with Star Citizen, but that's unfortunately the direction that it's gone. Bearded Guy, in terms of doing something on the Pioneer, I would love to do videos like that. My problem is like it's so hard to talk about those kind of ships before they're near release at best, because so much fucking usually changes with them. And like you even just talking about like outpost building and the gameplay behind it, I feel like that whole mechanic is so not expanded yet that like it's really hard to talk about it in any sense that's going to be like credible, I guess. Hey Dank, how's it going, man? It's nice to see you. Blue Raven, I'm doing pretty good this morning. The server so far has been holding up much longer than the previous night. I think we're at an hour on this one. I had to shut it down and restart it after I fucked something up on OBS after I was trying to recover the cyclone because I got it stuck in a boulder. And before that, I think we were probably another hour at least on this server. So at least 2 hours so far without a 30K. So gods be good. It'll keep going. I think it's a mixed bag, Catalytic, right? Like I do think that like ships shouldn't be able to do everything necessarily, right? But there should be a little bit of flexibility, and right now Star Citizen doesn't have that. It's very, very rigid on what you can do with a ship. And I personally would like to see that changed, hopefully in the future, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it. Like, I understand the limitations. Like, let's say the Prospector, for instance, right? Like, it has to have all this specific ductwork for vacuuming up the ore and then storing it in the containers, for the ore containers and stuff like that. So I understand that, like, oh, hey, it wouldn't make sense to make your Hornet a mining ship, right? That's fair. I understand it. But ships that are, like, bigger and could theoretically have CIG model in like ductwork onto them, I feel like those could be more modular and they should be able to have more roles than just one thing. I'm not even holding my breath on modularity anymore, because so many of the ships that are supposed to be modular have been kind of like mothballed in terms of like CIG addressing how the modularity is going to work and all this other stuff. Like, you look at the Retaliator and holy shit, dude, like they won't even sell the modules anymore during like the anniversary sales, much less talk about like how and when that system's coming. The Caterpillar, same thing. Like, when was the last time CIG said shit about the cat? Yeah, exactly. The Endeavor, that ship's going to be such a nightmare for CIG to do, because it's just so fucking complex. Like the different types of modules and just the complexity of like they're essentially all individual gameplay loops, right? Like the hospital modules are a whole gameplay mechanic loop. in themselves. The hydroponic ones are agriculture, which is a whole new fucking gameplay loop. The science one, or the collider, or whatever the fuck it was, I don't even remember anymore. That's a whole new gameplay loop, enhancing and like modifying weapons and items and stuff like that. It's crazy. Like, that ship is going to be so much work for CIG. GC Bach, you have a good one. No problem, man. I'll be here. I think the Kraken is kind of interesting because I haven't. I need to go back, right? Like I'm pretty sure they did a Q&A on it, right? I hope on the privateer, right? I honestly don't know. I wasn't that interested in it because I'm not a Kraken fan, but I probably should have looked up on it just to actually know. But one of my big concerns was like where the Kraken thing was listed. It sounded more like it was a CCU than an add-on kit similar to the Idris K. And that had me wondering if like you're literally converting a Kraken like one way from a Kraken to a privateer, which would be very upsetting if I was a Kraken fan. Yeah, the Kraken privateer sounds like a nightmare as well, right? So like my biggest concerns when I was reading the whole concept sale page for the privateer is they're talking about like, oh yeah, this turns part of the cargo bay into like a storefront where people can rent out store stalls from you and blah blah blah, and then you have the VIP storefronts in the back or whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, dude, this makes so much work for CIG. Like, you have to figure out, like, how do they stock their ship or their storefront? Does the Kraken privateer stay persistent when fucking the owner gets offline, right? Like, because that would have to mean that, like, somebody would always have to be at that storefront. Otherwise, like, why would you rent a storefront on a ship that's not going to be selling your goods all the time, right? Because, like, the owner gets offline, people get offline, it's cleared out, and then it despawns. Like, there's so much stuff there that, like, the whole time I'm reading, I'm like, oh my god, what is happening? This is so much work for them to, like, figure out how this is going to actually be implemented. That's kind of how I feel about it, fanboy. Like, man. Like, let's say Star Citizen gets amazing tomorrow. Like, I wake up tomorrow and everything that I don't like about Star Citizen is resolved. All of my concerns are put to rest. I would buy back into Star Citizen, right? Probably not as much, but I would still buy back in and get, like, a hangar that, like, has stuff I want to do. I don't think I would touch capital ships this time around. Like, I'm really torn on capital ships now. Whereas before, when I was really into backing the game, my focus was on capital ships because I wanted that whole, like, commanding a Star Destroyer, you know, for other people it's the Enterprise type thing. Yeah, hold on, let me crank that back down a little bit. I wanted that capital ship experience because that was the gameplay that I thought, like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to really like. This is what I want to do. And now, like, many years into the project and, like, having matured a little bit towards my expectations and what I see, like, the game being implemented with capital ships, I don't think I would buy one this time around. If I did, it would be for, like, channel content stuff and not, like, my own personal, like, expectations of the game, I guess. Yeah, I agree, Adamo. Like, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that CIG did with the game is not fleshing out literally everything from the get-go. Like, obviously things can change, but it absolutely feels like CIG is just winging shit as they go, and it's gonna cause problems outside of ones that they've already caused. The further they go. I am vaping hawk sauce right now. It's been forever since I've had Mount Baker Vapor. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to order some of this old shit that I used to vape like fucking forever ago. So, yeah, I grabbed some OG hawk sauce and banana cream pie. Oh, for sure. It's impractical to buy one for personal use. But when I say personal use, I mean like buying one to use with like friends. Because back in the day, especially when they were pitching the fucking Idris P, right? Like, one of the big things that they were selling the Idris P as was like a patrol ship that could fill a variety of missions and all this other crap, right? So they made it out like you could do stuff with these ships besides just, oh yeah, capital ships are for orgs to have slap fests, and that's it. Like back in the day, they were pitching these things as like, oh yeah, this would be your live abroad home for you and your crew to operate out of and take missions and do stuff with. And now, like, I don't know if it's a CIG thing with backing away from that or if it's more of a community enforced narrative, but the more they go along with it, they're like, oh yeah, capital ships are for org slapfests. They're going to be super impractical to use and blah, 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 and anything. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of disappointing. Because, I mean, like, personally, I don't think that capital ships should only be for org PvP and dumb shit. Like, you should be able to take an Idris or a Kraken, and that is your group of friends' home, right? Like, you live on that Kraken. You accept different missions, either transporting cargo or, I don't know, escort stuff, whatever the case may be, right? Like, there should be mission options out there for capital ships outside of just, oh, yeah, test and fucking... in, I don't know, some other dumb fucking org want to fucking slap each other. So they're spawning their capitals finally. Like, that's not fun. That's kind of stupid to me. I think that like that's a really big tell in general, Barry, with like how far along Squadron 42 realistically is, right? Because like the AI is so not there in general, right? Like it just isn't. It's hard for me to imagine that Squadron 42 can have any kind of real progression at this point when the AI is still basically like, if it was a human, it would be a toddler face still, right? Like, it's still learning to fucking walk upright, much less do anything complex or in depth. So it makes me very skeptical that Squadron 42 is even going to be able to make it in 2021 unless they really, really under-deliver on how much Chris has hyped aspects of like the AI in Squadron 42 and whatnot. And yeah, exactly what fanboys and Radiacs are saying. Like that's how I used to look at capitals, right? Like I wanted them to be a guild base or a mobile base or whatever, right? Something that like you operated off of and like you would form that attachment to it because it was your home, right? Like instead of spawning at Port Olisar, you were logging in to play with your friends from whatever capital ship you guys were based out of. And to me, that's how it should be, right? Obviously, I agree. Dark Side, like, it shouldn't be people out soloing in an Idris or anything like that, right? But it should absolutely be a situation where, like, if you have a crew of people to crew an Idris, you can go out and make a profit doing it. Like, operating an Idris as a group. Yeah, for sure. That's one of the points I try to bring up when people say Star Citizen can't be pay to win. One of the first things they do is say, oh, well, you could go buy your Idris or your Kraken, but that doesn't mean it's going to be any good if you're alone. And it's like they want to selectively disremember that you can hire AI crew members of various skill levels. And if you're a whale and you want a whale, a Kraken or an Idris solo, you can absolutely buy enough UEC now that, Chris Roberts took the cap off of buying UEC. Back in the day, it was 250K and you were locked. You couldn't get any more. And then they took the cap off, and now the sky is the limit. Traditionally, Sconfeld, they used to. I don't know if they still will or not, though, honestly. I really want to like the Reliant Tana. Just because, like, the rotating wings is super cool. I really enjoy the fact that the Reliants, like, rotate and it locks off the rear hatch. So, like, let's say somehow somebody either glitches in or, sneaks aboard or whatever and you don't notice it. They're stuck in the back end. I like that. But I just, like, it really bothers me having the wings be so large. The handling doesn't feel there, and if you lose those wings, you lose weapons, and that's really a big issue for me. Yeah, for sure, Steve. Like, you can only buy 20K a day, but like it's been years. I think it's literally been a year since they took the cap off, and we have many years to go until live release. If you're a whale and you want to preload credits so that you can jump right into your Javelin, you definitely have the time to do it. Oh, did they buff it? Nice. I'll have to give it a go. The last time I flew the Tana was in 3.6, I think, and it was very underwhelming. I really wanted to like that ship because I think the Reliant in general is really cool. It looks cool as shit. But when I used it, it was very underperforming. That's awesome if they did buff it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's the smart move to do, is to just buy shit for LTI tokens. Especially, like, I would be really salty if I was really into supporting this game still and wanted to, like, have all the ships that I would have if I, like, let's say I believed in the game, right? And I wanted to buy, like, a full-out hangar again. I would be so salty about not being able to use store credit to get LTI on new concepts. I would be so fucking mad about that, but I don't care because I have so many fucking LTI tokens that I can just grab a CCU and I'm done. I'm just like, I don't even know if I want to say it on stream because I don't want to give CIG bad ideas. I'm just concerned that eventually they're going to close that loophole up and make it so that CCUs don't inherit base pledge. I think it's not going to fix everything, Martin, but it's definitely, I think 3.8 is a step in the right direction for the game, for sure. Yeah, I am too catalytic. I'm starting to wonder how fucking long this planet's rotation is. I think that there have been improvements over the project's lifespan. I just don't think that, like, every single thing that they do needs to be celebrated the way some people do. they want to be happy about like every little thing. That's fine, right? But I'm not gonna like, don't expect me to share that enthusiasm. Like I have a higher bar for what I will celebrate out of CIG. I do think that there are improvements, and I say as much when I see them, but I'm looking at more like substantial overall game improvements versus like, it seems like these people want to celebrate like miniature improvements to like the here and now, and I'm more focused on like, okay, what makes this game a playable, enjoyable game? Like, when do we get to that point? Like, when do we get to the point of like having more gameplay loops, like salvaging, refueling, repairing, proper cargo hauling, and more than just these tiny little SCU boxes, like full on big containers? Those were supposed to be out already fucking forever ago. Stuff like that. Like, that's the kind of stuff I'm waiting on. I'm like, okay, when are you guys going to start getting your shit together? And when they start putting something out that, even if it's not getting their shit together, but it's a step towards collecting the shit, then I'm happy to be like, hey man, this is great. CIG did good. And I think I'm like usually pretty faithful about that. Like, whenever they release something major that drastically improves the game, I feel like I usually give them credit for that. I just don't go, oh, they did this thing that's good, so now everything is great. And it seems like some people want me, like, that's what they expect. They expect me to be like, oh, they did something good, so everything is awesome now. And it's not. Like, 3.8 brings a lot of good quality of life stuff, but I guarantee that by the time this build goes live, there's going to be issues within it. Oh man, that's a hard one to comment on, Mr. B, because I think credit economy will obviously change a lot. Like right now, realistically, once you got up to the point where like you're taking a Caterpillar full of cargo, you could get a lot of ships very quickly because you have a really good turnaround on income. But I'm sure that they're going to nerf that down later on. I don't think it's going to be that easy. That, or they've got to bump ship prices up. Otherwise, it would take no time at all to get to a point where like you have all of those ships. It's going to be a really weird thing, because if you make it too easy, then the people who bought those ships to have an advantage are going to be furious, right? Like, they'll riot and shit because their advantage was earned by somebody in basically the span of a couple months. And if you make it too hard, then people are going to really feel how much of a pay to advantage, time skip, win, whatever you want to call it, some backers have. So I would not want to be CIG balancing that part. I would gladly see that, Dino. Like, I would gladly pay a subscription. I've never had a problem with subscription-based games, and I think World of Warcraft is a perfect example that they can still exist if the content is there and people feel it's worth the price. And I would much rather see a subscription-based model than selling ships model, because I've never seen that model executed where it's not abused by the developers, right? Like, let's say, for example, World of Warships, World of Tanks, War Thunder, PlanetSide 2. I'm trying to think of other ones that use this model where it's a persistent MMO and they sell shit. Even Destiny, to an extent, right? They release paid content or DLCs or microtransactions where you're sold a new weapon or a vehicle or something like that, right? And it's top tier, super good. And everybody has to basically get it. Motherfucker, I should have known that was going to happen. Everybody has to get it, or else you're at a disadvantage because this new shiny is just so fucking good. And then once everybody's started to get it, then they nerf it. And then shortly after the nerf, they roll out the new one. And the new one is going through the same cycle. It's OP, broken, everybody has to have it, blah, blah, blah. And they basically just string you along by bouncing through that shit. And it's super exploitive. And it's also terrible for fucking balance. And that would be my concern if CIG continues to sell ships, is it's going to have to be structured that way, where like you're forcing people to impulsively buy the new shiny because it's so much better, it punches above its weight class, whatever the case may be, right? It'll absolutely, I mean, there's no reason to think with the behavior that CIG's marketing team has shown up to now that they would suddenly not use predatory dumb shit like that in a full released game while still selling ships. I think that sort of changed a little bit, Casey, when they introduced what do you call it, WoW tokens, because you could just buy a shit ton of game time tokens. Oh fuck, I don't have a helmet on. Helmet, it's an emergency. Why am I choking to death on a fucking station? It's kind of absurd. I think selling cosmetics would be fine. I think a lot of people would be very happy with that model, for sure. But yeah, in terms of the WoW thing, like once they introduce WoW tokens, you'd literally just buy, I don't know, 10, 20 fucking WoW tokens, dump them all in the auction house, and people would buy them, and then you have millions of gold. And now you're free to go buy that advantage with real money, essentially. Like, it's not direct purchase, but it's still, you're able to buy an advantage with that. Yeah, I don't think that there's going to be like a landfall of money from Squadron 42. I think the majority of people who would be interested in it probably already own it. So I'm not sure like where that narrative gets its ground. Like I see that all the time where people are like, well, once Squadron 42 releases, CIG is going to have the funding to do X or do Y and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I mean, I'm sure they'll make some extra money off of it, but I definitely think the most people probably already have it. Like, it's not going to sweep the gaming industry like some people think, right? Like, that's not happening. Where's my killer? Here we go. I don't think we care that much about, what do you call it, right? Driving around. Let's, we can just cruise around, low altitude. Hopefully it's daylight on this server. Damn it, I didn't look at the pad again. That one. I just don't see it. Like, I really don't think the story is going to be that groundbreaking for Squadron 42. And the FPS gameplay is going to be fucking bad. Like, we've seen no indication that they've suddenly made this engine smooth as butter to where like it's not janky and weird. Like Arma has been kind of mocked for a while in terms of like if you want to do like close-up FPS gameplay, it's not smooth, right? Like it just doesn't function well that way. But Star Citizen takes that to like a new low in terms of like how FPS gameplay feels. So you're not going to win anybody over who's coming from like more polished, better, smoother FPS shooters. In terms of like space sim people, I feel like most people probably are already here.
Aerospace, all systems online. Takeoff complete.
Thank you, and please visit again.
I agree with you, Renova. Like I do predict that Squadron 42 is going to be more like a playable cutscene than it is a true like game. But even then, like that means that it's going to rely on, I mean, Chris's storytelling ability, which isn't exactly remarkable, and then also like how functional the game is, which
Landing gear raised.
I'm not at a point where I'm going to be like, oh yeah, Chris can pull that off. I mean, like, the Wing Commander movie is not good. I'm not sure if you brought that up to like references like, oh hey, look, he can do a good story. Or if you were like trying to pull it up as like, oh hey, he can't do a good story. The problem is like Chris has one horse and he beats it to death, right? And that horse has been beaten many, many times. Like that's my issue, right? Is that like Chris has shown that like he has one theme and that's kind of what he does over and over and again. And like what I heard from somebody over there is the story is not remarkable. It's better Renfield. Like 3.8 when it goes live, hopefully if it's smoothed out some of the issues that it does have, it'll be a step up from 3.7 for sure. And it's definitely a step in the right direction on a lot of things. There's definitely a ton of quality of life changes and improvements in this build, or in this patch. But it still needs to be more stable than what the PTU builds are right now. We'll kind of have to see.
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money.
Oh, hey, Black Sail. I apologize, man. I saw the comment. I meant to address it. I think Dual Universe looks really impressive. Like, what they're doing with it is really cool. I'm just personally not a big voxel game guy. So, I understand why, like, lots of people are really hyped about Dual Universe. It's just not really my kind of game. But I definitely understand why like a lot of people are super excited for it. Yeah, Joseph, they drastically reduced quantum travel times. It is definitely much more like approachable for people who don't have large amount of time to just blow bouncing back and forth across the solar system. Yeah, the sporadic interdictions are definitely. I'm glad that they've been toned down for sure. I mostly agree with you, Joseph. Right? Like I feel like I've been on the record pretty established by now. That I really do. I enjoyed the longer quantum travel times because it gave me a chance to do other stuff, whether that be like tabbing over to the other screen and doing stuff either on Discord or browsing or watching a show, or to get up. Like if it was a long jump and I knew it was going to be long, that gave me a chance to get up and go do like dishes, cook food really quick, help the kids with homework, whatever the case may be. Right? Like it gave me a break from like having to sit here glued to the screen to make sure that I wasn't getting killed. So I personally like the longer quantum travel times, but I understand why a lot of people did not. So I'm just gonna roll with it. Like it doesn't ruin the game for me. It's just I personally like them. Yeah, for sure, Mega. Like that's a good way to do it too, if you want to essentially AFK. The thing I don't like about like basically AFK while it's hurtling through space is I've had multiple times where the game spawns NPCs like out in front of you, and they either attack you while you're just kind of AFK cruising, or you fucking fly into them because they spawn it like literally right out in front of you. So that was the thing with like quantum travel, like you were essentially in like a safety bubble, you know? That's a hard one on what I would see the lifespan being. Just because there's so many unknown factors there. Like, it's so hard to even speculate on that. I mean, I could speculate shit, but it would be totally unfounded, and my guess would be as qualified as anybody else's.
Quantum drive is now off.
Really? Are you kidding? Okay, never mind. We're good. Frustration unwarranted. I was like, fuck, man, really? Now I'm so far out I can't even get the marker?
Quantum drive is now on.
Hey, Greatwood, how's it going? Good morning. I don't think we've seen like the reworked ship UI, if that's what you mean. I think that stuff got pushed back on the roadmap because they said something about wanting to prioritize other stuff. As far as I know, it hasn't been like properly reestablished when that's coming. I don't think that they'll get rid of the, technically, I think that's a helmet overlay, right? That shows your target information. Just because the MFDs kind of bork out so often that you almost need that helmet overlay one as a reliable fallback. That way you know you have, what do you call it? That way you know you have at least one method of getting target info that's going to be functioning and reliable. If you mean the fix reclaims Greatwood, where reclaiming a ship would clone it and you just kept cloning it over and over and over again, yes, that seems to be fixed. The server 15 or 15, the server 30Ks are also much improved over the last build. M is definitely 1,000 times more stable than that last one, which I guess isn't saying a lot because that last one was probably one of the most unstable Star Citizen builds I've ever seen, like in years. But it's much more reliable now. I think we went 2 hours or something around that before we hit a 30K that last time. Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely going to improve more between, you know, now and live. I think the biggest issue right now is how much can they get it to improve between now and Friday before they go on holiday break. Haha, I'm a moron. I didn't even notice that, what do you call it? I was in decoupled. I was like, man, I'm not really moving up on this city at all. Holy shit. Failure's stupid. I don't think I would be brave enough to test it with the Connie. That ship is just like in every sense of the word a death trap.
weapons offline.
I think it's supposed to apply to everything, but there's always that one ship or that one compartment in a ship that ends up not having an atmosphere and killing the person. So, you know, mileage may vary. Yeah, it's definitely playable on the Wii U, for sure. I don't know if that's fair. I think the Connie looks good. It's just such a fucking death trap. I mean, it's nice for PvE. I agree with that. Like, PvE, it's usually pretty safe. But, like, God help you if a player shows up and they want to make you fall to your death, right? Because it's just so easy to strip those engines right off.
Online.
I think that's the big problem with what do you call it, with the Connie. Yeah, my big ship owner's reserved for Crusader ships. Like, that's hands down my favorite styling, and the Ares just added on top of it. Like, I really love the Hercules. The Star Runner as well, the Mercury, was really, really nice. Like, I've been waiting for those two ships for so long. And then they dropped the Ares, and I'm like, okay, you can postpone the Mercury and the Hercules. Just get me that Ares, like, fucking ASAP. God damn, man. Like, why are you pulling up? Don't pull up. Yeah, I think the freelancers in general are just super, super reliable ships for the current game. Like, the Freelancer Max is great for hauling cargo on a not giant, super hard to maneuver platform like the Caterpillar. And then the Freelancer Miss is just a fucking combat powerhouse right now. Uh, 3.7 is still pretty playable and enjoyable, Steve. There's not a lot to do after you've done a lot of, like, what there is, if that makes sense. Like, there's not a lot there. It'll probably be really fun if you've never played, because it's going to seem like there's a ton of shit to do. So, I would say you'd be fine to jump into the 3.7 live, no problem. And honestly, 3.8 PTU is, like, a mess, so, I mean, you could wait it out. I definitely wouldn't. I'd be very careful about jumping on the PTU if it opens up to all backers this week, because it's probably going to be kind of unstable and a mess. But 3.7 is probably like one of the most stable patches I've seen out of Star Citizen in a long time, at least the one that we have right now on 3.7. So, I mean, I would say for sure jump on there and start familiarizing yourself now. There's seriously nobody here? That's nuts. Holy shit. Prong, it's still 50. They haven't increased that yet. A lot of people are like, oh, they're stress testing the servers to increase it with 3.8. They haven't said anything about that, so that's basically just people speculating and rumors. So I wouldn't count on it being more than 50 anytime soon. And honestly, like, if they expanded it, I feel like it would probably be a mistake. There's landing control for this place already? There is. No pad assignment. Go ahead and flip it around.
Weapons offline.
Hey Mark, how's it going? Good morning to you. Another beautiful day on Microtech. It would be so funny if they had like really strong winds, like actually in game, and you could get blown right off this pitch. Oh, I would fucking die, dude. I would fucking die. Yeah, they need prison gameplay where like a Vandal sneaks into the prison and just starts killing everybody off. That would be fucking great. Make that mini game, CIG. Oh no, I'm getting crime stat for this? Seriously? Why not? Alright, well, let's go test the fucking fine terminal then. Cool. Cool, cool.
Anvil Aerospace. All systems online.
I'm just trying to wait out the day, Wait for some sunlight. What do they do? Fucking flag me as a criminal.
Landing gear raised.
Yeah, at this point, I really won't miss Port Olisar. Like, it's just, there's no reason anymore. With, like, all of the rest stops now having habs, I'm like, like, who cares about Olisar? We'll get the, God, I can never remember the fucking name of the one that's actually, like, orbiting and in Crusader. So, I mean, Port Olisar kind of becomes redundant. It's unfortunate on, like, some aspects because Port Olisar is, like, so simple that, like, it's really easy to, like, spawn there, pull a ship, and then immediately out to the pad and you're on your way. Like, that's really nice. Yep. But outside of that, like, Port Olisar's kind of, like, lost its relevance. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool if they did some kind of in-game event where Port Olisar actually, like, gets blown up and they just leave, like, the wreckage of it. That'd be kind of dope. Oh, there's a pad. Nice.
Forward proximity alert.
Am I gonna get loitering again? Oof, that was rough.
Takeoff complete.
Not proud of that.
Forward proximity alert. Landing complete.
Oh yeah, FPS AI are still dumb. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, unfortunately. Hey Mosquito, how's it going, man? Doing pretty good. Just enjoying the weather. I don't know about having fun. More like just dicking around. There's really not, like... There's not a whole lot of gameplay that they have right now that I would find fun, outside of, like... Flying planet side, right, would be enjoyable, but I don't right now have any of the ships that, like, I enjoy flying planet side. Because I have my hangar structured around, like, stuff that's coming out, right? Like the Carrack, what do you call it? The Cutlass, the Hercules, shit like that. So, like, right now, I just have, like, a weird, odd mixed match of loners. Yeah, kind of like what King Bear is saying. Like, at this point, it's just going, oh, wow, Microtech looks really pretty. And, I mean, it does, for sure. But that's pretty much, that's what I've got right now. That'll be interesting, Steve. Honestly, like, I don't know that I really care about more players right now, because it just doesn't really add much to the game, if that makes sense. Everything's zoomed in on the pop-ups catalytic because I don't have a helmet on. I don't know why, but, like, HUD alerts look so much weirder without a helmet. Hold on, let me toss one back on real quick. And then the next one should be like normal. Missions that I've tried are working in the PTU. I haven't tried a whole lot. I've done the 890 jump mission. I think I did a box mission and that call to arms one, which is basically just like any random bandit you kill, depending on like, what do you call it? Their crime stat pays out a certain amount of UEC. There aren't really a whole lot of new missions that are interesting to me to really bother with right now. So like it's not like this isn't a build I would play for fun. It's a build that I'd play to like test stuff out to see like the state of the game, but that's pretty much it. Like I'm still kind of in the camp where like the game isn't really going to have stuff that I'm personally interested in until like 3.9, 4.0, probably 4.0. Good. Yeah, probably not until sometime like late 2020. I mean, and again though, like there's a lot of stuff in this patch that is definitely progress in the right direction. It's just that like the things I want out of this game right now aren't here. It'd be even better if my head was actually off that far. Oh, you know what? Hold up. I'm wearing all the wrong shit. I need to fix this. All right. What do we got? No. That'll do. Actually, no. Let's go with this one. Adventurous Society, and then helmet. There we go. That's more appropriate. Just a dude with an eyeball sack chilling by a door waiting for the sunrise, you know? Who can't relate to that? See, now that's totally worth going to, Hendrik. That's a cinema experience I can get behind. That's 100% worth going over to. I don't have the motivation to go to a theater and pay $15 to go see, you know, some random shit, you know. Like it would take a major movie that I'm like really caught up in. So like when the new Star Wars trilogy came out, the first movie before anybody knew what it was going to be like, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go see that. Like, it's Star Wars. I'm really into Star Wars. How often do you get a new Star Wars movie? Evidently, very often now. But at the time, it had been a while since we had a Star Wars movie. So, situations like that, oh my god. Situations like that, I'm worth going to see, right? But under normal circumstances, I'm not really into throwing money at the cinema. I'm gonna fuck your name up so bad. Elicinia? That's kind of how I feel about it, right? Like, originally combat was what I wanted to do in Star Citizen, but the problem is, like, all we've had is combat for so long in Star Citizen that I'm kind of, like, just tired of it. So I want to do other stuff now. At the time, when I was a big backer for the game, it was solely combat focused. Like, all of my ships were almost entirely combat focused. All right, Allie. I wanted combat gameplay, and that was the only thing I cared about. So I was, you know, in heaven, provided that the flight model was good and the combat was enjoyable. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, well, I'm kind of bored of doing combat shit. Like, I want to do something like refueling. One of the things that I really want out of Star Citizen is actually something that I was influenced by Elite Dangerous, and that's the fuel rats. For anybody who's never played Elite Dangerous, fuel rats are a group of people who volunteer to go out and rescue people who run out of fuel or get stranded some other way, right? Like maybe they get damaged to the point that like they can't fly or something like that. And these guys go out and save people. Totally just voluntary. Like there's no like they don't charge you to do it or anything like that. They just go out there and save you. So I'm hoping that Star Citizen gets to a point where it can have that kind of gameplay where you can have something like a Vulcan or a Starfarer or any other refueling ship that might come around. I guess technically the Argo SRV also. But stuff like that, right? Where you go out and you rescue people. So refueling was a big one for me. Salvaging is a huge gameplay mechanic that moves speed. Most of you probably know him as like the channel mod. He's somebody that I've played various games with for like 5 years now at least. He's really interested in salvaging, so like that's a gameplay loop I would love to see Star Citizen have. So then we can go out and do salvaging. But yeah, like repair and refueling services are two gameplay loops that now I care much more about than combat because I'm bored of combat. I don't care about it anymore. Like I care about it, but it's just not something that I'm solely focused on like I used to be. So now when Star Citizen only has combat and like light early tier versions of other professions, I'm like, okay, it's cool to jump in and check out each milestone patch, but it's not something that I'm going to be like, oh yeah, 3.8 is out. I'm literally going to be playing this each week until 3.9, right? Like it's just, there's not, the game I want isn't there yet. Yeah, I would love to see stuff like that. Like, man, it sucks because I feel like we have forever to wait for stuff like salvage, repair, and refueling, which are like major tentpole professions. And then you start talking about stuff like the medical ones, the agriculture stuff, like the things you're supposed to be doing on the Endeavor with the ag pod domes. Stuff like that, it feels like even further out. Like, man, I can't even imagine waiting for like medical and agricultural gameplay or outpost building and stuff. Like, man, I feel terrible for the people who are holding on to a Pioneer because God knows when we're going to get that. Stuff like that's super frustrating, for sure. I would be really bummed if like that was what I was waiting for. Holy shit, that storm is fucking loud. All right, let me turn this down even more because that's fucking crazy loud. I apologize for everybody's ears. God damn. All right, let's go hide back inside this ship. Hopefully it's a little quieter. Oh yeah, even that. There we go. We're good. Yeah, like that's a great example. Like mining has gotten so many iterations and stuff like that. Oh God, no. Oh, I wonder if that's them bringing the servers down because that's not a 30K. Hold on, let's see really quick. Full out and then back in. Let's see if it's available. Fuck, man. I just wanted a sunrise, you know? I just wanted to enjoy a Microtech sunrise. Why was that so much to ask? Yeah, it looks like it's down. Double check. Discord, where are you? Holy shit. Sometimes I'm like blind. Yep. So These tests are critically important to us, and we greatly appreciate everybody's help as always. We will be taking the PTU offline temporarily to swap to a fresh database. If all goes well, we hope to expand the PTU population to additional waves as well. So stay tuned for more information. Alright guys, I guess that means no Microtech Sunrise for us. Sad face. Hopefully though that means that it's going to be a little bit more stable and hopefully running better when they do bring it back up. But we'll see. And hopefully that also means that they open it up to all backers, which means I can get the rest of the crew in here instead of just being me, lonely whale sitting here on wave 1. Because it wouldn't be a proper milestone patch without move speed screaming about crashes and everything breaking. That's what I really look forward to in my Star Citizen milestone patches at this point. I'm like, man, I sure can't wait for move speed to try and play it and to like literally fucking because everything keeps fucking him over. Alright guys, so I'll be back probably, it depends how long the downtime is. If it's only like an hour or two, I'll probably be back for a short span before I have to go pick up kids. If it's going to be down for a while, then I probably won't be back until around 5 Eastern. So literally 5 hours. We'll have to see what happens. But with that, thank you guys all for hanging out with me this lovely morning. I had fun sightseeing Microtech. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you all next time.